Today I'm going to narrate a short story on the topic The Pumpkin That Married a Princess. Once upon a time, there lived an old couple who had no children. They prayed for a son every day, but their prayers were not answered. Looks like there wouldn't be anyone to light our fires when we die. I wonder why we have been cursed this way, barren, desolate, and desperate. Don't worry, dear. I am sure that Triple Gem would bless us one day. They worked hard in the garden and grew spinach, radish, beans, and potatoes. One particular year, nothing grew in the garden except pumpkins. Lamakino, what we do with so many pumpkins? Is this another punishment? Well, it's okay. We shall make use of them all. So they harvested the pumpkins. Some they cut into thin pieces and dried in the sun, and the other the women cooked for meal. Eventually they were down to the last pumpkin, which was unusually large. And just as the old woman was about to split it, "Mother, please don't cut me." Who could be in there? "I am your son, mother, but we want a real son, not a pumpkin son." "Don't you despair, parents. See, I can walk, and I can work, and I can sing, and see, I can also dance." Indeed, he sang and danced, making the old couple happy, and thus the pumpkin proved a useful companion to the aging couple. But one day, "I want to get married, parents," in her mind, thinking, who on earth would marry a pumpkin man? "Mother, I see that you are worried, but trust me, I will marry a princess. I will go to the palace and ask the king for his daughter's hand." "Well, son, you may look for someone other than the princess." "Don't you worry, mother. I shall return with a princess for your daughter-in-law." And so the pumpkin went on his mission, rolling and tumbling. He crossed several rivers and hills, vales and dales, and finally arrived at the king's palace. Huge walls surrounded the palace, where the only entrance was the front gate, where the guards watched every day. He slowly took out chili powder bag and blew the powder at them. As soon as the pumpkin entered the palace, he saw a big waiting room. He quietly made his way to the first floor and found himself in a long corridor with lots of doors. "What is that noise? Father, something strange is here." The pumpkin rolled in the open and greeted the king. "Greeting, mighty king. How did you get in?" "Your Majesty, can I marry one of your daughters?" "What? Are you mad? Why not? Let's ask the girls." "Ha! Marry with a pumpkin? Marry a pumpkin man? I would rather marry a log than a pumpkin." But the young princess said, "Well, should he be the one sent to me by the Triple Gem, then I am ready to be a pumpkin man's wife." In a grand ceremony, the king handed over his daughter to the pumpkin. "Well, take good care of my daughter and don't forget to visit us often." "Sure, your Majesty, and we will visit you as much as we can." The pumpkin and his bride said goodbye to the king and set out for their home. It was an extremely hot, and the princess complained of thirst. "Wish we had carried some watermelons." "Don't despair, my dear, the sun should be down soon." Quite unexpectedly, they came across a tree with juicy mangoes. "If only someone could get me a few of those." "Why despair, dear? I shall get them for you." The pumpkin climbed up the tree and plucked the mangoes, but as he climbed down, he slipped, fell on the ground, breaking into pieces. The princess cried out in despair, but as the dust cleared there stood a handsome young man who looked like a prince. "Well, my fair lady, I am your pumpkin man." Indeed, the pumpkin man was a prince from a distant land, condemned by a witch for refusing to marry her. The pumpkin princess and his bride went back to the old parents, and they lived happily ever after. Moral: appearances can be deceiving, and only faith reaps miracles. If you like this story, please like, share, and subscribe. Until then, thanks for being with me. Thank you.